The first light of dawn spills across the ancient lowlands of southern Nepal, painting the horizon in shades of amber and rose. Mist clings to the forest floor, curling around the roots of towering sal trees, and dissolving slowly as the warmth of the sun seeps in. Somewhere deep within this emerald labyrinth, a distant roar reverberates through the silence, long, low, and commanding. It is not merely a sound. It is an announcement, a declaration of sovereignty. The Bengal tiger, the apex predator of the Terai jungles, is awake. In this realm where humans are guests and nature is both beautiful and brutal, every rustle of the leaves, every flicker of shadow, can hold a story of survival or death. Chitwan National Park, a name that resonates with wilderness, is a world suspended in time. Stretching across more than 900 square kilometers, this sanctuary is a living tapestry of rivers, grasslands, and dense forests, where life pulses and the park lies at the very edge of human civilization, where villages end and raw nature begins. Here, the tiger does not merely exist, it rules. Its presence is felt even when unseen, in the trampled grass by a stream, the half-eaten carcass of a deer hidden beneath bamboo, or the eerie quiet that settles when the jungle senses its passing. The people who live near these forests speak of the tiger, not as an animal, but as a spirit, a force that guards the balance of the wild. They call it Bogdevda, the tiger god, a creature to be feared and respected in equal measure. The story of Nepal's tigers is as old as the Himalayas themselves. Once, they roamed freely from the snow-fed rivers of the north to the mangrove swamps of the south. But human ambition carved their territories apart. By the mid-20th century, rampant hunting, deforestation, and encroachment had driven them to the brink of extinction. British officers, Nepali kings, and foreign dignitaries once came here to hunt for glory. They built grand camps in the forest, where a single day's expedition could claim 10 or even 20 tigers. The photographs of those times still exist. Sepia-toned images of men posing beside lifeless giants, their eyes dull but their majesty unbroken. Those pictures tell a silent tragedy of how human pride nearly erased one of nature's most perfect creations. Yet, nature has a way of healing when given the chance. In 1973, when Chitwan was declared protected national park, a new story began, one of redemption. Conservationist local communities and the government joined forces to pull the Bengal tiger back from the edge. Anti-poaching units were trained, villages were relocated from deep inside the forest, and awareness campaigns spread the message that saving the tiger meant saving the entire. Slowly, against all odds, the forest began to breathe again. The rivers ran clearer, the deer returned to graze, and the haunting roar that had once faded into memory began to echo once more through the canopy. By the early 2000s, Nepal's tiger population had doubled, a miracle of coexistence between man and beast. But coexistence in the wild is never without peril. For those who venture into these jungles, every day is a test of courage and respect. The local Theru villagers know this better than anyone. Their fields stretch along the park's borders, where cultivated land meets untamed wilderness. On quiet nights, when the moon hangs low and silver light washes over the grasslands, they hear movement near their livestock pens, soft steps, deliberate and graceful, a flicker of striped fur at the edge of the field, eyes glowing like molten amber in the darkness. They know what it means. The tiger has come. Sometimes it's just curiosity, a fleeting visit from the ruler of the forest. Other times, it's hunger, a hunger that ignores the thin line humans have drawn to mark their domain. The terror of such encounters lingers in their stories. One farmer, an old man named Dan Badur, still remembers the night his buffalo disappeared. He found it the next morning, half-eaten by the riverbank, with deep claw marks carved into its hide. It wasn't just an animal that came, he said, staring into the forest. It was the jungle itself. For him and many others, the tiger is both a curse and a blessing, a living symbol of nature's strength, but also a reminder that humans are not the masters here. The forest allows them to live on its fringes, nothing more. To film crews and researchers who come from around the world, the Nepalese jungles are a paradise, but one that demands absolute respect. Each expedition begins before sunrise, when the forest is at its most alive. The air hums with the calls of peafowl, parakeets, and lungors warning of movement in the undergrowth. The sound of cicadas rises and falls like a heartbeat, and then the forest falls silent. Every living creature freezes. The camera operators know what this means. The tiger is near. No one speaks. They only listen. Sometimes they see nothing at all, just a faint imprint of paws in the soft mud, large, rounded, perfectly symmetrical, the sign of a predator that knows every inch of this land. And yet, there are moments when the jungle reveals its secrets, when the morning mist parts and a magnificent male steps out from the tall grass, his coat burning orange under the rising sun, black stripes like calligraphy etched by the hand of nature itself. His muscles ripple as he moves, each step a silent demonstration of power and grace. The camera zooms in, capturing the moment when his gaze locks directly into the lens. For that fleeting instant, it feels as though he's looking straight through the machine into the eyes of humanity itself. Unafraid, unimpressed, eternal. It's a moment that sends chills down the spine of every viewer. But beneath this beauty lies danger. Every year, there are stories, some whispered, some recorded, of encounters that end in tragedy. Tourists who stray too far from their guides, rangers who underestimate the tiger's stealth, or villagers who find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. The jungle has rules, ancient and unbreakable. To survive here, one must listen, not just with ears, but with instinct. For those who ignore its warnings, the tiger is merciless. It does not kill out of cruelty. It kills because that is what it was born to do. As the sun climbs higher and the forest awakens in full, the balance between life and death plays out quietly under the canopy. The tiger hunts, the deer flee, the vulture circle. Yet within this endless cycle, there is harmony, a natural order that has existed long before humankind ever set foot here. To witness it is to understand something profound, that the jungle is not a place of chaos, but of equilibrium. It is only terrifying when we forget our place within it. And so begins our journey into the heart of Nepal's wilderness, where the Bengal tiger reigns, where fear and fascination intertwine, and where every breath of wind carries the echo of survival. Kamal Thapa has spent more than 2 decades walking the wild corridors of Chitwan, and yet each dawn in the forest still humbles him. To outsiders, he is a ranger, a man in uniform patrolling the boundaries of a national park. But to those who know him, Kamal is something else entirely. A bridge between 2 worlds, between human reason and the primal instinct that rules a jungle. His face is tanned by the relentless sun, his hands roughened by years of gripping machetes, ropes, and binoculars. He carries no weapon, only a radio, a field notebook, and a quiet confidence that comes from understanding the rhythm of the wild. You don't fight the jungle, he says softly. You listen to it. His words are both warning and wisdom. For in this world of leaf and shadow, one mistake, a single step too loud, a breath too quick, can summon death. Kamal's story begins on a monsoon morning thick with humidity and the scent of wet earth. He had been tracking a female tiger known as Cheetah, a mother of 3 cubs whose territory stretched along the Rapti River. The forest that day felt alive with unseen eyes. Fresh pug marks led him deeper into a bamboo thicket, each print perfectly round, heavy, and clear. They were fresh, less than an hour old. The sound of cicadas suddenly fell silent, replaced by a weighty stillness. Kamal stopped. That silence, he recalls, is how the jungle tells you to stop moving. He knelt beside the prints, tracing the edge of one with his finger, and felt the faint tremor of the earth beneath his hand. Somewhere close, very close, the tigress was watching him. Then came the sound, not a roar, not a growl, but something subtler and far more chilling. The faint huff of breath through leaves. Kamal's eyes darted upward, and there she was. Cheetah, the queen of this part Chitwan, standing barely 15 feet away. Her coat shimmered with beads of rain, her whiskers twitching, her muscles rippling beneath the skin. Her golden eyes locked onto his, unblinking. In that suspended moment, man and predator face each other. 2 beings aware of each other's strength, each deciding whether to attack or to walk away. Kamal's instinct screamed at him to run, but his training held him still. Never show fear, he murmured to himself. Fear is movement. For several eternal seconds, The tigress simply watched him, tail flicking in slow, deliberate arcs. Then, as suddenly as she had appeared, she turned and melted back into the forest, her stripes dissolving into the mist like smoke. Kamal exhaled, realizing he had not breathed for almost a full minute. His legs trembled, not from weakness, but from the raw surge of adrenaline that only comes when a person stands inches from death and is spared. "She let me go," he would later say, half in awe, half in disbelief. Encounters like this are not uncommon for those who live and work in the tiger's world, but they are never routine. Each meeting leaves an imprint, not just in memory, but in the soul. Kamal would spend years following Sita and her cubs, documenting their habits, their movements, their victories, and their losses. In doing so, he learned something vital. Tigers are not just hunters. They are guardians of balance. When a tiger disappears, the forest itself begins to fall apart. The balance, however, is fragile. In recent years, as Nepal's tiger numbers have grown, so have the dangers, not only for humans but for the tigers themselves. As human settlements expand, the invisible borders of the wild shrink. Farmers clear more land. Tourists venture deeper into park, and illegal poachers still lurk in the shadows. Kamal remembers the day they found a body of a young male tiger. Poison, most likely for attacking livestock. He was just doing what tigers do, Kamal says bitterly. We are the ones who forget the rules. For every life saved by conservation, there are stories like these, quiet tragedies hidden beneath the canopy. Despite the risks, Kamal and his team patrol tirelessly. Their days begin before sunrise. They move in silence, scanning the ground for tracks, scat, or the telltale scent of a predator. Sometimes they find the remains of a hunt. A somber deer carcass dragged into the bushes, bones picked clean except for the skull. It is gruesome yet natural. Out here, Kamal says, death is part of the order. It is not cruel, it is necessary. The team records everything, from the depth of paw prints to the angle of broken grass, feeding it into data sheets that scientists use to map tiger behavior. It is slow, painstaking work. But for Kamal, each clue is a sentence in the forest's ongoing story, one that he has dedicated his life to reading. One of his most harrowing experiences came during a night patrol along the Rue River. The moon was hidden behind clouds, and the forest was dark as ink. Kamal and two younger rangers walked cautiously, flashlights cutting narrow beams through the undergrowth. Suddenly, they heard it, a low, guttural snarl that vibrated through the air like thunder beneath the earth. The sound came from their left, close enough to feel. They froze. The younger ranger's hand shook so violently that his light wavered over the trees. Then a flash of movement, the glint of eyes reflecting the beam. The tiger charged, a blur of orange and black breaking from the shadows. Kamal shouted, clapping his hands and banging his torch against a metal canister, a desperate attempt to appear larger, louder, more dangerous. The tiger skidded to a halt just meters away, let out an explosive roar that shattered the night, and vanished. The jungle fell silent again. No one spoke for a long time. When they finally returned to camp, the rangers sat in silence around the fire, listening to the wind move through the trees. None of them slept. That night changed Kamal. It taught him that courage in the jungle is not about fearlessness. It's about respect. You don't survive because you're brave, he says. You survive because you understand. Since then, he has become a mentor to younger rangers, teaching the language of the forest, the meaning of bird calls, the timing of alarm cries, the subtle difference between a tiger's growl of warning and its growl of attack. He tells them that a tiger is never evil, never vengeful. They are perfect, he says. They only do what they must. We're the ones who complicate things. Filmmakers who accompany Kamal often describe him as part of the landscape itself. He moves with a stillness that seems almost animal, stopping often to listen to the wind or kneel by the track of a deer. His intuition has saved lives more than once. During one expedition, he halted a film crew moments before they would step directly into a tigress's den, her cubs sleeping inside. You never walk straight in the jungle, he explained afterward. You move like water, not like a machine. To the crew, it was a lesson in field safety. To Kamal, it was simply common sense. Every time he returns from a forest, Kamal sits for a while on the edge of the village, watching the sun set behind the trees. He says the jungle breathes differently at dusk, slower, deeper, as if preparing for another night of survival. Sometimes he can hear the faint roar of a tiger far in the distance, rolling across the land like thunder. That's when I know everything is still in balance, he says. As long as that sound exists, there is hope. His eyes glisten with quiet pride. For men like Kamal, the tiger is not an enemy or a legend. It is a living truth, one that defines who they are. The jungle tests them, humbles them, and in the end, accepts them as part of its endless cycle. And yet, there's always danger ahead, moments that even the bravest cannot predict. In the coming weeks, Kamal and his team would face one of the most terrifying encounters of their careers, a confrontation that will remind them all that the tiger's mercy is not eternal, and that the wild, no matter how much we study or protect it, will always remain untamed. The jungle at night is a different creature altogether. What by daylight seems lush and alive turns into a vast cathedral of shadows once darkness falls. Every tree a pillar, every rustle a whisper of something watching. The air grows heavy, thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves. It was on such a night that Kamal Tapa and his patrol team found themselves moving along the narrow path near Kusara, the beating heart of Chitwan National Park. The radio had crackled an hour earlier with news that one of the motion-triggered cameras had gone silent. For the Rangers, that could mean two things: either a technical fault or the handiwork of poachers. Both were dangerous, but one of them could be fatal. Kamal, ever cautious yet determined, decided to investigate. The team moved in single file, flashlights dimmed, boots sinking softly into the wet soil. Overhead, the stars were hidden behind a thick quilt of clouds. The only sound was the distant drone of crickets, until, suddenly, even that ceased. Every ranger in Nepal knows what that silence means. The jungle never stops talking unless something powerful commands it to. Kamal raised his hand, a silent signal to halt. The young ranger behind him froze mid-step, his breath visible in the beam of his faint light. Somewhere ahead, something was moving. The smell hit them first, musky, pungent, unmistakable. Tiger. A heavy exhalation followed. The deep rumbling purr of an animal aware of its surroundings, testing the air for intruders. Kamal crouched, whispering barely audibly, "Switch off your lights." No noise. The forest swallowed them whole. They waited. The seconds dragged, stretching into what felt like eternity. Then, from the right side of the trail, came the softest sound, the crack of a twig. Kamal's head turned sharply. The others followed his gaze, though they could see nothing, their pupils strained in the darkness. Another crack, closer this time, followed by a faint shuffle of leaves. Something large was circling them. The young ranger gripped his radio, his knuckles white. "Sir," he began, but Kamal raised a hand. "Don't speak," he mouthed. He knew this behavior. It was not an ambush, but a warning. The tiger was not hunting. It was asserting dominance, claiming its space. Still, one wrong move could change everything. He had seen it before, a sudden charge, a blur of stripes, and then screams. The tiger's power lies in its silence. The way it can move through the thickest brush without a sound until it wants you to know it's there. And now it wanted them to know. A faint rumble, like distant thunder, rolled through the night air. It was followed by a low growl, drawn out and deep, the kind of sound that vibrates in your bones, making even the bravest feel small. Kamal slowly raised his flashlight and pointed it toward the direction of the noise. The beam cut through the mist and caught a pair of eyes glowing gold. The tiger was there, half hidden behind a fallen tree, crouched low, its body tense, muscles coiled like springs. Its tail flicked once, twice. Kamal recognized the posture. It was preparing to charge. "Back away," he whispered. No sudden movements. The men began to retreat slowly, step by step, never turning their backs. But the tiger followed. It moved parallel to them, keeping its distance but never breaking eye contact. The rain began to fall, soft at first, then heavier, drumming on the leaves. Lightning flashed for an instant, illuminating the massive animal in full. Its first slick with rain, its breath steaming in the cool air. For a brief moment, it looked almost supernatural, a creature a myth conjured from storm and shadow. The next few seconds would become legend among the park rangers of Chitwan. The tiger suddenly burst from the undergrowth, covering the ground between them in 3 silent leaps. Kamal shouted, not in fear, but in authority, clapping his hands and stomping his foot as he had been trained to do. "Hey, hiya!" His voice cut through the rain like a blade. The tiger skidded to a halt mere meters away, its claws digging into the mud. It let out an explosive snarl, the sound so loud it seemed to shake the forest itself. The rangers could see every muscle tense beneath its striped coat, every drop of rain rolling down its face. For a heartbeat, it was chaos and stillness all at once. Predator and human caught in a standoff as ancient as time. Then, just as quickly as it had charged, the tiger turned and disappeared into the trees, melting into the night as if it had never existed. The silence that followed was deafening. No one moved for several seconds. Kamal finally lowered his flashlight, exhaling a shaky breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "She wasn't hunting us," he said quietly. "She was teaching us." The young ranger blinked, still trembling. "Teaching us what?" Kamal looked into the darkness where the tiger had vanished. "That we don't belong here, not the way she does." The men walked back to camp in silence, each lost in his own thoughts, their clothes soaked, their nerves raw. When they finally reached the ranger station, the firelight felt unreal, too warm, too safe. One of them whispered, "I thought we were dead." Kamal only nodded. "You will never forget the sound of her roar," he said. "It stays inside you forever." Word of the encounter spread quickly through the park. To outsiders, it sounded like another tale of bravery. But to Kamal, it was something else entirely, a reminder of humility. The forest had shown mercy, and mercy in the wild is rare. The next morning, when they returned to the site in daylight, they found the ground torn where the tiger had stopped. Her paw prints were massive, nearly the size of dinner plates. Nearby, a half-eaten deer carcass lay under a tangle of vines. She hadn't been guarding territory. She had been guarding her meal. "We walked right into her hunt," Kamal muttered, shaking his head. "And she spared us." The men stood silently, the gravity of what had almost happened settling into their bones. For weeks after that, Kamal found himself dreaming of the tiger. Sometimes she appeared at the edge of a clearing, watching him with those golden eyes. Sometimes he heard the echo of her roar rolling through his mind as he drifted between sleep and wakefulness. "The jungle never leaves you," he told a visiting journalist months later. "It marks you, just as surely as the tiger marks his prey." His voice carried no fear, only reverence. That night in the rain had changed something deep inside him. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about understanding, about realizing that terror and beauty are 2 sides of the same wild coin. The documentary team who later interviewed Kamal captured that essence perfectly. Their footage of the tiger's charge, a blur of stripes and rain caught by the trembling beam of a flashlight, will become one of the most talked-about moments in wildlife television. Viewers gasped, their hearts racing, but Kamal's calm voiceover guided them through it. When the jungle speaks, you listen. When it warns you, you stop. And when it spares you, you remember. His words resonated far beyond the forest in Nepal. They were not just about tigers. They were about the fragile balance between human arrogance and nature's power. In the end, the night of the silent roar became more than a terrifying moment. It became a symbol, a reminder that the tiger, despite centuries of persecution, still walks the earth with undiminished majesty. And as long as that roar continues to echo through the jungles of Nepal, there remains a thread, thin but unbroken, connecting mankind to the wild heart from which it came. As dawn broke over the dense canopy of Chitwan, the forest seemed serene, birds chirping, monkeys chattering, and sunlight drifting lazily across the grasslands. Yet, beneath this tranquil veneer, dangers lurked both seen and unseen. While the Bengal tiger remains the undisputed apex predator, the true threat to its survival comes not from the forest, but from the humans who live at its edge. Poachers armed with steel traps and poison bait prowl in secret, driven by greed and desperation. Their target is not only the tiger's fur, but also its bones, which fetch exorbitant prices on the black market, used in traditional medicine, or sold to collectors abroad. Despite strict anti-poaching laws and the vigilance of rangers like Kamal Tapa, these shadowy hunters managed to exploit the forest's hidden corners. Each year, reports surface of tigers caught in snares, young cubs stolen from dens, or entire families scattered by violence. The forest bears silent witness, and the remaining tigers adjust, moving to increasingly isolated territories, making encounters with humans even more unpredictable. Kamal had faced this grim reality firsthand. One humid afternoon, while inspecting a remote section of the park near the Rapti River, he stumbled across an iron trap concealed in the undergrowth. It was bloodied, a clear indication that an animal had already suffered. His stomach tightened. This wasn't just a risk to the tigers. It was a moral crisis, a reminder that humans often disrespect the balance of the jungle. He carefully dismantled the trap and documented it in his notebook, photographing every detail. "Every snare we remove is a small victory," he would later say, "but there are hundreds more out there waiting." The thought of the tiger caught, helpless and in pain, haunted him. It was a reminder that while the forest itself could inspire awe, the forest's interaction with humanity could inspire fear and sorrow in equal measure. The hidden threats extended beyond deliberate human interference. Livestock grazing near the park's edges often attracted tigers into human settlements. While the tigers are merely hunting for survival, the consequences can be catastrophic. Cattle, goats, and even occasionally buffalo fall victim to the predator's calculated strikes, and angry villagers retaliate. Stories circulate of tigers shot on sight or chased away with firebrands, their territory shrinking as human encroachment continues. Kamal frequently mediates between rangers and villagers, educating them about the tiger's natural behavior and the importance of coexistence. He teaches them to secure livestock in elevated pens, use noise deterrents, and observe the tiger from a safe distance if it strays. Yet, despite these precautions, tension always simmers, a constant reminder that the jungle's most magnificent creature can easily become a perceived menace in the eyes of those who do not understand it. Even within the park itself, dangers are unpredictable. Monsoon rains swell rivers, flood low-lying areas, and force tigers to shift territories. With prey scattered and shelter compromised, tigers sometimes venture closer to human dwellings than usual. Kamal recalls a monsoon of 2018, when a young male, newly independent from his mother's territory, began to explore the outskirts of the villages. Locals reported seeing its stripes through the misty fields, and livestock disappeared almost nightly. The ranger team had to balance patience with urgency, ensuring both human safety and the tiger's freedom. They would track him silently, noting his hunting patterns and guiding him back into deeper forested zones without direct confrontation. It was a delicate dance, one that required intuition, respect, and nerves of steel. One misstep could have turned into tragedy for both the human and the animal. The forest itself is full of subtler dangers that humans rarely comprehend. Swollen rivers, hidden ravines, venomous snakes, and sudden rock slides pose constant hazards. Even seasoned rangers like Kamal are not immune. On one patrol, a torrential rainstorm swept through a ridge along the Rapti, turning solid paths into slick mud and invisible holes into death traps. Kamal's team slipped and fell several times, their radios crackling with warnings. Yet the forest did not pause for human discomfort. The tiger, observing from a safe distance, continued its hunting patterns undisturbed, teaching a lesson in patience and adaptability. Kamal often reflects on these moments. The jungle is impartial. It is neither cruel nor kind. It merely exists according to its rules, which humans are only beginning to understand. Among the tigers themselves, territorial disputes also pose life-or-death challenges. Mature males patrol vast expanses of forest, marking boundaries with scent and scrapes, while younger males and females must navigate these territories carefully to avoid confrontation. A fight between two dominant males can result in serious injury or death, leaving an opening for a neighboring male to claim the territory. Kamal has observed these clashes at a distance, capturing footage of low growls, lunging bodies, and thunderous roars echoing through the jungle. The raw power of the Bengal tiger is breathtaking, a reminder that while humans may study and document, they will never fully control this ecosystem. Even the most seasoned researchers become small players in a grander, untamed world. Yet, it is not all despair. Conservation efforts are making a difference, even in the face of hidden threats. Camera traps, GPS collars, and community programs are helping scientists understand tiger behavior like never before. Each successful birth of a cub, each sighting in newly protected areas, becomes a victory. Proof that balance can exist even amidst danger. Kamal takes pride in training new rangers, passing down the knowledge that the jungle is alive, intelligent, and deserving of respect. Every patrol becomes an exercise in humility, a lesson in how to coexist with creatures who are both magnificent and terrifying. But the hidden threats are a constant reminder that the jungle is never truly safe. Every encounter carries potential peril, whether from humans, the environment, or the predators themselves. For Kamal and his team, this tension is a way of life. They walk the paths of the forest with vigilance, never fully relaxing, yet always attuned to the beauty around them. They understand that the thrill and fear of living alongside the Bengal tiger are inseparable, two sides of the same coin. The tiger embodies both wonder and terror, and to witness in the wild is to confront the limits of human control, to recognize that in this land, we are visitors, and the forest, in all its splendor and danger, remains sovereign. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the jungle floor, Kamal paused to observe a pair of cubs wrestling near the riverbank. Their playful antics contrasted sharply with the harsh realities of the forest. Survival here is not guaranteed. Life is fleeting and every day is a struggle. Yet in these moments, one sees the raw, unfiltered essence of the Bengal tiger, fierce, graceful, cunning, and unrelenting. Kamal smiled quietly, knowing that while danger lurks everywhere, hope persists too. This fragile equilibrium between fear and fascination, threat and triumph, defines every terrifying moment in the wilds of Nepal, reminding all who witness it that the jungle is a world unto itself, beautiful, brutal, and unforgettable. The sun had barely pierced the canopy when the forest came alive with movement. Every sound, every whisper of leaves, hinted at a world operating by rules older than any human memory. Kamal Top and his team had been tracking a dominant male tiger for weeks, a specimen of raw power and intelligence named Raju by the park staff. His territory stretched over kilometers of dense jungle, meandering rivers, and open grasslands, each inch meticulously marked with scent and claw. Observing Raju was both a privilege and a lesson in humility. Unlike other predators, the Bengal tiger moves with calculated patience. It stalks its prey not in bursts of blind aggression, but in precise, deliberate motions that reflect a mind capable of strategy, memory, and adaptation. To witness him hunting is to watch a living embodiment of evolutionary perfection, a creature whose very existence commands reverence and fear. That morning, Kamal noticed subtle changes in the forest. A broken twig here, an overturned patch of earth there. The signs indicated that Raju was approaching prey, perhaps a herd of somber deer grazing near the river's edge. Kamal gestured to his assistants, motioning them to stay downwind and maintain silence. Any misstep could alert the tiger and disrupt the hunt, an event that would leave the predator frustrated and, potentially, more dangerous later. The team crouched in the shadows of the sal trees, hearts racing, knowing that they were privileged witnesses to a life-or-death drama unfolding in real time. As the first rays of sunlight filtered through the mist, the forest seemed to hold its breath, every bird and insect suspended in anticipation. Raju moved like liquid, each step perfectly balanced, his muscles shifting under his striped coat with controlled power. His ears twitched at the faintest disturbance, nostrils flaring as he caught the scent of his quarry. The somber deer were oblivious, grazing in small clusters, their bodies tense but unaware of the predator creeping closer. The distance closed slowly. The tiger lowered his body until he was almost flat against the wet earth. Kamal whispered softly, noting the tiger's calculated pauses, the flick of his tail signaling a shift in intention. The hunt was not yet over, and it was clear that Raju was the master of his domain. Suddenly, a deer's head snapped up. Alarmed by a subtle rustle in the undergrowth, it bolted, and instinctively, Raju exploded into motion. The forest seemed to vibrate with his energy as he launched into a blur of orange and black, chasing his prey across the grasslands. The ground shook with the impact of his powerful strides. each step a testament to strength honed over generations. Kamal's team watched, frozen with awe, as the hunter closed in. Within moments, the tiger lunged, bringing down the deer with precision that left no margin for error. The struggle was brief but violent. The predator pinned the animal beneath him, his jaws clamping down to secure the kill. Within seconds, life had left the somber, and Raju began to feed, his presence dominating the clearing with a mix of grace and brutality. Kamal marveled at the scene, documenting every movement with camera and notebook, fully aware of the educational value this footage would provide to conservationists worldwide. Yet, the spectacle was more than science. It was a reminder of the delicate balance of life in the wild. While the kill satisfied Raju's immediate need for sustenance, it also reinforced his role as both hunter and guardian. Every tiger, by controlling prey populations, ensures that the ecosystem remains in equilibrium. Overhunting or human interference could destabilize the system, leading to cascading effects throughout the jungle. Kamal often reflects that observing the tiger in action is to witness the raw law of nature, a force that operates without malice, yet without mercy. The hunt, however, was not without its risks, even for the apex predator. Smaller predators and scavengers lurked nearby, eyes glinting in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to steal a meal. Jackals, wild dogs, and even opportunistic birds hovered on the periphery, forced to respect Raju's dominance, yet ready to capitalize on a moment of distraction. A single misstep could allow one of these scavengers to snatch the kill, forcing Raju into another chase or a confrontation. The jungle is a world of constant tension, where every action carries potential consequences, and survival depends on sharp instincts, adaptability, and endurance. Kamal and his team understood that each observed interaction offered critical insights into predator-prey dynamics, insights that could guide policy, conservation strategy, and the protection of both tigers and human communities. Beyond the mechanics of hunting, Kamal noticed behavioral nuances, Raju's eyes scanning not just for prey but for threats, his ears flicking toward distant noises, his body tensing and relaxing rhythmically. The intelligence displayed by the tiger was astounding, a combination of instinct, learned experience, and perhaps even anticipation. Each decision he made in those moments, when to pounce, when to pause, when to retreat, was a lesson in energy conservation, risk assessment, and spatial awareness. Kamal often compared these observations to human strategy, understanding that in the wild, survival is as much about mental acuity as physical prowess. The day progressed with a tense stillness that only the jungle can sustain. The aftermath of the hunt left a scene of controlled chaos. The tiger fed, the deer's family fled into brush, and scavengers lingered at a cautious distance, waiting for opportunity. Kamal documented how each species interacted, how fear and respect dictated their movements, and how survival shaped behavior. The forest was alive with energy, but every creature, predator, prey, and human alike, understood its boundaries, its role within the larger tapestry. Observing these interactions reinforced Kamal's belief in the complexity of ecosystems and the necessity of preserving such spaces for generations to come. Yet, even in these moments of fascination, danger remained imminent. Tigers are not predictable. Their presence can turn deadly in seconds. Kamal recalled previous encounters where curiosity led a tiger too close to human settlements, where misjudgment had nearly cost lives. The forest, while beautiful, has no tolerance for carelessness. Every moment spent in proximity to these magnificent animals carries both awe and anxiety, a constant reminder that humans are visitors in a kingdom ruled by instinct and power. As Raju finished feeding and disappeared back into the dense undergrowth, the team exhaled collectively, hearts still racing, minds still processing the lessons of the morning. As dusk approached, Kamal reflected on the day's events, understanding that the hunt was more than just sustenance. It was a demonstration of the raw, elegant mechanics of life in the wild. Each movement of predator and prey contributes to the complex web of survival, teaching humans humility, respect, and vigilance. Observing the Bengal tiger in its natural habitat is to confront both the beauty and the terror of nature, a living testament to evolution's perfection, and a stark reminder that even the mightiest of creatures must navigate a world of constant uncertainty. The jungle, in its endless rhythm of life and death, continues to teach, and Kamal, alongside every human witness, is forever transformed by its lessons. Life along the fringes of Chitwan National Park is a precarious balance between survival and respect, between fear and fascination. Villagers like Dan Bahadur, a farmer whose family has cultivated land near the jungle for generations, live intimately with the presence of the Bengal tiger. For them, the forest is both a source of sustenance and an omnipresent threat. Early mornings are spent tending to crops or checking livestock pens, their ears attuned to even the faintest rustle in the grass. Every sound could signal a grazing deer, a passing monkey, or, more dangerously, a tiger. These people learn the language of the jungle instinctively. The warning call of a barking deer, the sudden silence of birds, the subtle movement of leaves in an unnatural pattern. Each sign, however small, can mean the difference between life and death. Living so close to predators has instilled a deep reverence for nature, yet it also imposes a constant anxiety that outsiders can scarcely imagine. Dan Bahadur recalls a night when the unthinkable happened. A tigress had ventured into his village, driven by hunger and the instinct to teach her cubs how to hunt. The family's cattle, secured in pens, suddenly fell silent as the predator's presence approached. The young calves huddled, sensing the danger, while the older cattle stamped in alarm. By sheer luck and experience, the villagers had installed barriers and noise deterrents, which likely saved their livestock. Dan Bahadur watched from a distance, heart pounding, as the tigress's golden eyes glinted in the moonlight. She paused, sniffing the air, her muscles coiled for a strike, yet the human's careful planning held her at bay. The encounter lasted minutes that felt like hours, and when she finally disappeared back into the darkness, the villagers exhaled collectively. Such experiences are simultaneously terrifying and humbling, demonstrating the power of the tiger while reinforcing the importance of preparedness, observation, and respect. For conservationists and rangers like Kamal Tapa, incidents like these are reminders of the delicate balance between human life and wildlife. Their work requires not only tracking and studying tigers, but also educating local communities. Workshops, village meetings, and patrol guidance aim to ensure safety while fostering coexistence. Farmers are trained to secure livestock, to understand tiger behavior, and to avoid confrontation whenever possible. Children are taught the importance of the jungle, of respecting its rules, and of recognizing that humans are guests in this world. These efforts have dramatically reduced conflicts, yet the tension remains. The line between safety and tragedy is thin, and even the most cautious individuals are never completely free from risk. The emotional toll of living in proximity to Bengal tigers extends beyond immediate fear. Villagers often experience sleep disturbances, anxiety, and a lingering sense of vulnerability. While they respect the tiger, they also live with a constant awareness that one misstep could prove fatal. Kamal has observed this firsthand during village visits, where elderly residents recount stories of neighbors attacked or livestock killed, their voices carrying both pride in survival and sorrow for losses endured. For many, these narratives become a defining part of identity, a daily negotiation with the unseen forces of the forest. Yet, the presence of the tiger also fosters resilience, adaptability, and an understanding of the interconnectedness of life. Humans learn not to dominate, but to live within constraints imposed by nature. The emotional complexity of these interactions is mirrored by the tigers themselves. Female tigers, especially mothers, exhibit extraordinary intelligence and protective instincts. When Sita, Kamal's long-studied tigress, roamed the park with her cubs, every movement was purposeful. She taught her young to hunt, to stalk silently, to read the signs of danger. Observing these lessons, Kamal and his team understood that maternal instinct in tigers are profound and unforgiving. Cubs that failed to learn quickly were left behind or had to fend for themselves, a brutal but necessary aspect of survival. Watching this interplay between mother and offspring was both inspiring and unnerving, a real-time display of the fine line between life and death in the wild. The danger becomes more pronounced when human and tiger worlds overlap. Livestock straying too close to hunting zones, or people venturing into the jungle unprepared, can trigger violent encounters. In one particularly harrowing event, a tourist group wandered off a designated path in the grasslands. A male tiger, claiming territory and perceiving a potential threat, approached rapidly. Kamal and the patrol were alerted via radio, and within minutes reached the site. The tiger, sensing the presence of humans but undeterred, stopped only when Kamal's intervention, loud claps, shouted commands, and strategic positioning asserted dominance. The incident reinforced the fact that even with years of experience, no human is ever truly immune to the unpredictability of the wild. These moments of tension, when the raw power of the predator is palpable, are what documentaries aim to capture, giving viewers a sense of awe and respect for creatures so rarely observed at such close quarters. Despite these dangers, life continues. Villagers adjust their routines, rangers patrol diligently, and tigers move stealthily through their territories. There is a rhythm, an unspoken agreement of boundaries, awareness, and vigilance. The jungle is unforgiving, yet it allows coexistence for those who respect its laws. Kamal often emphasizes that these interactions, though sometimes terrifying, are necessary for understanding and preserving the ecosystem. Through patience, observation, and empathy, humans can witness the tiger in its natural state without forcing a fatal confrontation. Each encounter, whether near the edge of the forest or deep within, carries lessons about humility, courage, and the intricate web of life. By nightfall, as the forest transitions from the golden light of dusk to the cool shadows of darkness, the presence of tigers becomes more palpable. Roars echo from distant ridges, signaling territorial claims, while cubs practice hunting under their mother's watchful gaze. The villagers, meanwhile, ensure their livestock are secured, reflecting on the day's events with both apprehension and gratitude. The delicate balance between fear and fascination defines existence here, where every day carries the possibility of wonder, loss, or terror. It is in this tension that the story of Nepal's Bengal tigers unfolds, a narrative of life lived on the edge, a dance between predator and human, where every step, sound, and glance carries meaning. For those who venture into the wilds, researchers, filmmakers, rangers, the experience is transformative. Witnessing the predator in action, understanding its behavior, and feeling the pulse of the jungle is both exhilarating and humbling. The Bengal tiger teaches lessons that extend beyond survival, about patience, adaptability, respect, and the profound interconnectedness of life. And for villagers living at the forest's edge, it is a daily reminder of nature's supremacy, a teacher of resilience, and, paradoxically, a source of inspiration, pride, and identity. Living alongside these majestic creatures is neither easy nor without risk, yet it is a testament to humanity's ability to adapt and coexist with the raw forces of the natural world. The forest was alive with tension that day, thick with the smell of wet earth, moss, and the faint metallic scent of distant rainfall. Kamal Tapa and his team had ventured into one of the park's most remote regions, an area where tiger sightings were rare, yet the population density was known to be significant. The objective was to track a young male, recently separated from his mother, whose movements had been unpredictable. This male, nicknamed Bijay by researchers, had already become infamous for trespassing near human settlements and leaving a trail of panic in his wake. Bijay represented the precarious balance of a maturing predator, strong, agile, and learning the boundaries of both jungle and human encroachment. Kamal and his team understood that any encounter could escalate quickly. A moment of misjudgment could have catastrophic consequences. As the team moved silently through the undergrowth, the air grew thick with anticipation. Birds stopped singing, monkeys froze mid-leap, and even the insects seemed to hold their collective breath. Fresh paw prints indicated that Bijay was near. Massive, rounded impressions pressed deep into the damp soil, claw marks etched in precise arcs. Kamal knelt to examine them, his experienced eyes noting subtle differences in stride and direction. He whispered instructions to his team, stressing patience and caution. The forest itself seemed to conspire with him, guiding each careful step through patches of soft mud, fallen leaves, and gnarled roots. It was in these moments that the true mastery of the Bengal tiger revealed itself. Every movement calculated, every decision deliberate, every instinct honed for survival. Then came the sudden sound, a low, vibrating growl that cut through the humid air like a warning shot. Bijay emerged, a vision of power and elegance, his eyes glowing amber as they scanned the undergrowth. Kamal froze, as did the team, recognizing that the tiger was both curious and assessing potential threats. Bijay circled slowly, tail twitching, muscles coiled, sensing the presence of intruders without revealing his intentions. To watch a tiger in this state is to witness the embodiment of instinct, raw, immediate, and unflinching. There is no deception, no malice, only an unwavering adherence to the rules that govern the jungle. Moments later, the situation escalated. A sudden rustle from a nearby bush startled Bijay, triggering his hunting instincts. He lunged toward the sound with lightning speed, claws extended and muscles rippling beneath his striped coat. Kamal barked instructions, clapping hands, and using his torch to assert dominance without threatening the animal, a delicate balance requiring absolute precision. The young tiger halted, eyes narrowing, measuring the human's reactions, then retreated just enough to maintain distance. The confrontation lasted mere seconds, but felt like hours to the rangers, who understood that Bijay's decision to spare them was temporary. In the wilderness, mercy is conditional, earned by respect and caution, not by bravery alone. Bijay's movements were a lesson in agility and intelligence. He navigated the forest floor with fluid grace, calculating jumps over streams, crouching beneath fallen branches, and pausing to sniff the air, his senses scanning for prey, predators, and potential threats. Kamal observed every detail, mentally recording behaviors, gait, and patterns. This was crucial for understanding not just individual tigers, but the broader ecosystem. By analyzing Bijay's hunting strategies, territorial markers, and interactions with other wildlife, Kamal and his team could predict patterns, mitigate conflicts, and ensure coexistence. Each step of the tiger was a story. Every pause a lesson in adaptation and survival. The encounter became more intense when Bijay crossed paths with a herd of spotted deer. The tiger's eyes locked on a young fawn, calculating the probability of a successful strike. Kamal instructed his team to remain still, emphasizing the importance of observation without interference. The hunt unfolded with breathtaking speed and precision. Bijay stalked, waited, then charged, muscles coiled like springs releasing energy in a single, explosive movement. The fawn bolted, yet the tiger's acceleration and timing were impeccable, culminating in a kill that was swift, clean, and efficient. Observing this, Kamal reflected on the harsh beauty of predation, a reminder that life and death are intertwined in a cycle that sustains the balance of the forest. Yet, the jungle's equilibrium is fragile. Even as Bijay fed, the team noticed the subtle signs of tension. Tracks of another male tiger encroaching on the territory, smaller predators lurking at a cautious distance, and signs of nearby human activity. Each factor has a potential to disrupt the balance, turning a day of observation into one of survival. Kamal and his team meticulously documented everything, knowing that understanding these dynamics was essential not just for academic purposes, but for practical conservation. Human presence in such zones must be measured and respectful, for the forest does not forgive recklessness. By evening, the adrenaline had subsided, leaving in its wake a profound respect for the power and intelligence of the Bengal tiger. Kamal gathered his team near the riverbank to discuss the day's observations. He emphasized the lessons learned, the tiger's patience, the necessity of caution, the importance of reading subtle cues in the environment, and the realization that humans, for all their ingenuity, are still at the mercy of nature's laws. The jungle had spoken to Bijay's behavior, teaching humility, awe, and a deep understanding of coexistence. As darkness enveloped the forest, the distant roar of a dominant male echoed across the landscape, a sonic reminder of the unseen hierarchy governing the territory. Kamal and his team, while exhausted, felt invigorated by the knowledge gained. Each encounter, terrifying as it might be, contributed to a deeper comprehension of the ecosystem, highlighting the intricate connections between predator, prey, and human observers. The forest, in its complexity, offers lessons that cannot be learned in classrooms or laboratories. They must be experienced, felt, and respected firsthand. That night, as the rangers returned to their camp, Bijay's presence lingered in their minds. His amber eyes, poised for instinctive action, had imprinted themselves on memory, a reminder of the untamed, unpredictable nature of the jungle. Kamal knew that such encounters were rare privileges, providing invaluable insights into behavior, ecology, and conservation. Yet they were also sobering reminders of vulnerability. The forest's power is unmatched, its laws uncompromising, and its apex predator utterly sovereign. In that delicate balance, Humanity finds both fascination and fear, learning that survival in this wild domain depends not on dominance, but on understanding, respect, and humility.